All right, I think we can go ahead and get started since it seems like the amount of customers joining has slowed down. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, thanks everybody for joining today's Threekit product roadmap webinar. We will be recording this in case you want to check it out in the future. And we're going to also be sending surveys after the webinar just to get your feedback on how things go, what you want to see differently, because we are hoping to make this a regular thing in the future. So definitely, if you want to provide that feedback about this webinar, what other types of webinars you want to see in the future, just let us know through all the communication paths we're going to be providing at the end of the webinar. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the agenda. Thanks, Ash. So the agenda for today's call is going to be a quick round of introductions to everybody you have here on the Threekit side. Then a quick opener into our fiscal year vision for Threekit. And we're also going to dig in a little bit into the roadmap highlights that you can expect to see in the coming months from to be released in Threekit. And lastly, we're going to set aside a few minutes for a Q&A. So we'll try to get to as many customer questions as possible. And you can submit those questions on Zoom through the Q&A tab. So just a reminder, we will also kind of interject throughout and stop the webinar to answer some of those questions. So if anything comes to mind, just throw them in the Q&A and we'll try to tackle them while we're already talking about the subject and make it as seamless as possible. But anything else we'll talk about at the end of the webinar. So definitely send all of your feedback, questions through that Q&A tab and we can respond to them for you. All right, so an intro to your Threekit team. Myself, I'm Vinny Ladisa. I'm on the Customer Success Manager at Threekit. I will be facilitating today's webinar. And yeah, so anytime you guys ever need support, I'll be kind of helping you guys out through any communication paths that we have. Ash, would you like to do an intro?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Ash Said. I'm head of product here at Threekit. I'm excited to walk you through our story for this year. And as Vinny mentioned, feel free to jump in that Q&A in the Zoom. I'll keep an eye on it and try to answer the questions as we go. Thank you.
Hey all, my name's Stefan Simonovic. I'm on the customer success team as well, and I'm just here to basically provide any support you may need. So if you have any technical issues or really quick requests you need answered, please use the chat function in Zoom. If not, use the Q&A for any webinar related questions.
All right, great, thanks. And then I think with that, you can go ahead and get started, Ash.
Perfect, thanks, Vinny. So I want to tell a bit of a story today. So I want to start with a snapshot of Threekit today to set up the rest of the session. I want to talk about some of our observations of the industry and things we hear from our customers, and then tell you about our focus for this year and then break it down into themes, and we'll get a little bit granular. So to start, to recap Threekit about how we see ourselves and how our customers see ourselves more as differentiators, there's two main points I want to get across on where we excel the most. So you'll see here, Threekit, we see ourselves and our customers see us as the leading visual commerce platform. And there's two main ways in which we lead. One of them is really understanding our customers' journeys and workflows. So by extension, your customers, helping with transformations, especially at scale. And these are important because when you look at Threekit, we're not just about a configurator, a visual configurator or AR. Those are just one of many tools in our toolbox. Where we excel most is understanding your business, how you speak to and sell to your customers to help you accelerate that and to help you grow. And I'll get into a bit more detail in a second. And we excel especially at scale. The second aspect is nothing to do with the technology, it's more the people. And when I tell the Threekit story, I usually tell it as a story of two teams. So on one end, we have a team who are experts in the CPQ or complex product configuration space, especially enterprise or scale level. So half the team knows complex products and configurations and rules and that whole product catalog world really well. And then you have this other half of our team who are experts in the visual or 3D space. And everyone on this call, I'm sure, knows the Ben Houston story and the Hollywood technology and all the innovations he's and his team have brought forward in the last decade or 2 decades or so. So when you look at Threekit as a company and these 2 factors, these are really the important factors in us being a leading visual commerce platform. Part of it is just our ability to understand your customers and their workflows and helping you transform. And the other part is really the people and the knowledge we bring to the table. Now, zooming out, I want to look at the industry and some of the things we hear from our customers to set up our upcoming year. So the first thing in the industry, 3 main things we've seen. With the metaverse and NFTs, there's been a lot of opportunities generated, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. And on my end in product, what I take away from this is we have to set ourselves up for rapid innovation. Today it's metaverse and NFTs, tomorrow maybe something else. As we've seen over the last 2 years, especially the last year with the pandemic, everything is accelerated. And with that, the interest in visual commerce is accelerated. But what we're finding and what we're hearing, it's actually difficult to ramp up quickly. And as I mentioned on the last slide, we're not talking about one configurator or a catalog of 5 products. We're talking about customers who have hundreds, thousands, millions of individual SKUs or variants, or complex product configuration where photography just doesn't do. So think of a room builder or a closet organizer. Even if you had all the means and time in the world, you can't build a compelling experience using photography. So while the technology is there, it's difficult for our customers to actually ramp up and adopt and implement and launch these experiences. The third point is that what we see more and more and hear more and more from our customers is B2B and B2C are actually more alike now than they are different. Traditionally with B2B, most of the emphasis was on having an accurate product catalog, representing complex rules, bundling, pricing. That was where the effort went. The visual component was more of an afterthought, a nice to have. And it was almost expected that this can actually be a not great experience because the B2B buyer has a higher tolerance. It's their job to go through this form. It may take them an hour, but oh well. But what we found, what we've heard, is this has changed quite a bit and really quickly. Now the B2B buyer has the same expectations as the rest of us when we're shopping online. I want to be able to do this myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be able to do this when I want to. It could be 2 in the morning if I want. I could be traveling and a layover in an airport. I want to do it myself. And also, I want the experience to match everything else I experience when I'm shopping online. From our customers, here's what we're hearing. While we can easily check off the box of creating a configurator and all the compelling visual experience, at the end of the day, what our customers need most is a solution that's scalable. So great, you can launch 1 product, you can launch a dozen, you can launch 100. How do I add another 100? How do I add another 1,000? And by the way, we are dealing with a lot of IP here and security. So how can we ensure that what we're doing is scalable and secure? The next thing is, how do we do this easily? Now, easily is a bit subjective, right? So easily doesn't mean anyone off the street can do it. My vision is if we can be like IKEA for product visualization, that's great. I don't know how attainable it is with some product catalogs, but what it means is autonomy. Can our customers work autonomously? Can they work with us? Can they work with partners? Can they do it themselves? And we want to ensure we provide all these options depending on your comfort level. And we want to make sure as much as we can, you do it in one system. I've done a lot of screen sharing with customers and we are one of many tabs that are open. And we don't want to add more tools and more complexity to existing workflows. And so what we're hearing from our customers is autonomy, and can we integrate so that we have less systems to manage and think about? And the last part has to do with workflows, and this is a significant point in terms of our roadmap. As I mentioned in the industry section, things are speeding up. Technology is speeding up. Interest is ramping up really quickly. And to address that, our customers need to and want to move really quickly. And when I say want to move quickly, I don't mean just the merchandising step. I don't mean just creating a configurator, but from the design steps in the product lifecycle, being able to design original products or variants, to then merchandising them, to then the post-order workflows and fulfillment. Every step of this workflow needs to speed up. And there's a variety of reasons, and Catalyst supply chain is certainly one. If you can't even get prototypes or samples made so that you can visualize them, Threekit can help here. So just as a small example. So these are our main observations from the last year, which brings us to Threekit's roadmap for this year. And I call it the year of visual commerce, the emphasis on commerce. And I'll explain that in a second here. So I'm not sure how many people have seen this diagram. We use it in a few slide decks, but it's basically the Threekit equation. So on the very left-hand side, we have your data, customer data. And this can come from a variety of sources, but it's essentially two different data types. It is your product catalog and it is your product visual. So your catalog could be in spreadsheets. It could be an ERP system, PIMS, your e-commerce platform. We've had customers who've had it in a mix of PDFs and physical binders. It's your product catalog information. So that's one type of data. And here we call it commerce data. The other is the visual data or visual assets. These are models, textures, materials. You may have them, you may not. These could be CAD files. And the Threekit equation is we bring those two things together in the middle here. And through our catalog and asset system, we're able to generate all the different visual experiences from 3D configurators, virtual photography, AR, and a mix of all three. And we do this by bringing the data into Threekit, building components out of them. So recreating, and the phrase we use a lot is a digital twin of your product. So if you can imagine, I'll just use a desk as an example. We bring the definition of that desk. What is the product? What are all the attributes and options that can be manipulated? What are the product rules? So if you pick this finish, you must pick those legs and so on. We bring that data into the platform. We build bring in the accompanying visual components. So the tabletop, the legs, the casters, the finishes, and then rebuild it as a digital twin in the platform so that you can create these experiences. And then at the bottom, we have kind of the glue for the process. There's all the content management stuff. You have thousands, hundreds, millions of product records. Same thing for visual assets. What are the workflows for all these tasks? Is there an approval system? How do you know something's ready to go live? Once something's live, how do you know how well it's performing? And also, where else can you syndicate besides your own properties? And that's the equation all the way on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side is everything that you need to get into Threekit. In the middle is the platform and all the tooling and process. And on the right-hand side is actually how you actually get value out of it. Is all the places you can take advantage of Threekit. And what year of visual commerce means is we are more focused this year, prioritized on the sections that are highlighted. Commerce data, product options and rules, all the workflows and approvals and analytics syndication tools at the bottom, with a focus in getting your products in front of more eyes. Now, I want to be really clear here that what I'm not saying, or I guess what I'm saying is, we are not ignoring the visual side. To be really candid, the visual side comes really easily to us in the sense that we have a lot of technical expertise. I've mentioned Ben Houston and his team. Whenever there's a visual tech, AR came up, it was pretty straightforward for us to implement. We're continually improving our real-time 3D visuals. We're adding new ways of visualizing products. I'll talk a little bit about it in a bit. But where we find we can provide the most value this year is actually on the commerce section, those things that are highlighted. Now, I'm going through this really quickly. I know we've mentioned it at least half a dozen times, but feel free to jump in that QA if you have questions as I'm moving along. So let's break down commerce and visuals into themes. So in commerce, I've grouped our roadmap into two parts. One is go-to-market, the other is growth. So the whole goal of go-to-market and the features and roadmap themes here is, how can we set up Threekit in a way to get our customers live or to market as fast as possible? The faster that our customers can get to market, the faster you can get value from Threekit. So I'll throw out some hypothetical numbers. If it takes 12 months to get a customer live, that is 12 months our customer is actually not getting value from Threekit. If we can get you live in 6 months, that leaves 6 months of that year to get value. And when I say get value, I'll be really specific. We have a lot of data from our customers who are live where the experiences created with Threekit result in three things: higher conversion, higher average order value, and higher customer loyalty / reduced returns. And these are three data points that are continually validated with every go live. So it is in everyone's best interest if we can help our customers get to market as quickly as possible. The next part is growth. So once you're live with Threekit, there's still plenty of opportunity to grow and impact those three data points I mentioned earlier. So there is the product lifecycle of getting you to market quickly. And then there is the other aspect. Now that you're live, what else can we do? And that's a really exciting part, because there is so much more we can do. But first, we have to get you to market really quickly. Then on the visual side, there's two main themes. One, the first and most important is performance. So performance is one that doesn't come up unless it's a problem, typically. And I've found a pattern where when I'm speaking to customers, either in quarterly business reviews or customer advisory boards, I will present and speak about a lot of exciting experiences. Let's just pick on Metaverse for an example. We have a plan for Metaverse. Here's how we're going to do it. The feedback I consistently get is this is all well and good, but it has to be performant. We have baselines, and every customer has a little bit different numbers there, but the trend is still there that there are baselines for performance, whether it's for web, mobile, whatever. And unless those are hit, we can't take advantage of anything you're telling us. So when I hear this, what I take away is performance has to be one of our top initiatives, and not just a temporary one, but part of everything we do. And then the second part of visuals is the experiences and the experience library. And I'll get into that in the next few slides. So let's take a closer look at these themes. I've broken it down in two ways, and I have a few demos for these things. One of them is the goal for the theme and some of the key epics that I'll go over in a little bit. So the key to go to market, as I mentioned, get you to market faster. And the ways we're going to do this and are currently in development is by understanding the things you do quite often, common tasks you do. This is general tool designer, product designer work, where we've worked with our customers. We've done shadowing, a lot of recording, a lot of feedback from our customer success team. This is what customers do in our platform when we say self-serve or autonomous. How can we make it faster? How can we get the tool out of the way? The next part is we manage a lot of data in Threekit. As I mentioned, there's product data, catalog data, visual data. What tooling and organization can we provide our customers to make that easier? As I mentioned, we're one of many tabs. We want you to flow in and out of Threekit seamlessly. You jump into Threekit, you recognize your catalog exactly how you expect to see it, at the granularity you expect to see it, so you can flow in and out. Without those tools, this creates friction. When you jump into Threekit, it's hard to find the thing you're looking for. It may be hard to do things in bulk. So if you have to update, let's say, 100 product records at one time, how can you do that quickly and easily? The second part is by enhancing our product catalog, it makes it easier for us to add connectors, so no-code connectors. So anyone can come along, do an export of the data in Threekit, import it back in, and share it outside the platform. There are certain things, and I will be the first to admit, certain things that spreadsheets are just the best for. We can invest 6 months and try to build a better spreadsheet, but at the end of the day, spreadsheets are really accessible, easy to share. And we realize it takes, for some of our customers, it takes teams to build our product data catalog. You are sending it around. Someone fills in the dimensions. Someone fills in the SKU and variant information. Someone the collection information. Someone the product options and attributes, marketing teams, and so on. Realizing this, we want to make it easy for you to get data in and out of Threekit. And organizing our catalog and giving you tooling is a big part of it. The third one there is one of the most powerful things we can do at Threekit and deliver. And I'll explain it by giving you an analogy. When a musician records music, they record what's called like a master recording. This is, imagine, the highest quality, uncompressed recording. Photography has the same concept, and so does film. And so what they do is they create this master file. It's the highest quality, as I mentioned, uncompressed. Maybe it takes up 10 hard drives. But what that allows them to do is take that master copy and create as many experiences as they want. So if we're thinking about music, they will author a version for streaming services like Spotify or Amazon Music or Apple Music, whatever compression size they need and specs. They will author one for radio. They will author one for vinyl. And basically by investing in creating this master, it unlocks this world of, well, whatever version of this you want, and I'll go back 15 years, we can create a ringtone from this master recording. And we want to bring the same concept to 3D visuals. And right now we're somewhat close to that, but there's still some nuance between, let's say, photorealistic virtual photographer and interactive 3D configuration and AR. And we have a really well-defined path to get us to the point where you invest in one set of visual assets, high quality assets, and maybe you've already done it. So this is an additional work for customers who've already done it. And by introducing universal assets tooling in Threekit, you can get more value from that investment. Meaning if you want to create a 3D configuration experience from a photorealistic experience, you don't have to put in any additional effort. You don't even have to speak to an artist. We have authoring within Threekit where you can create those versions. Or if you want to create AR, and if you want to create one for Apple that's slightly different than Android, you don't have to think about these things. Threekit will have it part of the platform. Metaverse comes along, you have your assets already created. Without any additional artist effort, you can author Metaverse assets as well. So that's the concept there behind universal assets. So this theme is actually quite large in the sense of it deals with workflows in the platform, it deals with catalog organization and universal assets. And there's 4 main epics I want to bring up. First thing is the product platform and the UX, and I'll give you a demo of it, how we've designed it for speed for some common tasks. The catalog being more representative, so having the catalog families, the taxonomies, the grouping, the bulk operations. The no-code data importers, you are empowered to export and import into the catalog, and universal assets to generate a variety of experiences. So let's take a look at a prototype for the platform. So I'll jump over here. So this is a tool called Figma. It's a design tool, and this is a clickable prototype. And I want to highlight 2 main workflows here and how we've sped it up. So this is the traditional product catalog, and there's 2 main new workflows we've added. One is called Quick View, and one is called Bulk Edit. So this is Quick View. Without going to a separate page, without opening a new page, waiting for any sort of player to load, you can click Quick View on any item, and this works with the asset section. Basically, any listing page you see, you can scroll and see all the data, but you can also highlight and edit in place. So if you need to make a quick change in a SKU, you can do that. You can just click and do it here in seconds, whereas before we've actually timed it. It took quite a long time. And you can scroll down, you have access to all the attributes, options. And if you just need to really quickly turn off a rule and then publish it, you can. So Quick View is a really, really fast way to do some of the most common tasks we see in our analytics and recordings. The other workflow is called Bulk Edit. So with Bulk Edit, it's similar, except now you can apply changes across the board. So I've picked 3 items. I can edit their tags. I can assign their stages. So if we have a brand new lifestyle stage we want to apply to all of these, we can at one time. We can add new attributes. These are the things we find are most common, and we can help teams speed it up. And as I said, this panel, the Quick View and Bulk Edit, are going to be throughout the platform. And there's a lot more goodies in the screen, but you'll have to wait till end of March for the Q1 release to get your hands on it. Whoop. Moving along. All right, let's talk about growth. So that first one was getting you to market quickly. What about growth? Well, the goal here is to help you launch new products and experiences faster and to more channels. So one is about speed, one is about coverage. So the first thing is to actually give you data insight or analytics about the products you have now in Threekit. And there's a lot of amazing anecdotal stories we hear where we have customers go live, then they start to see orders and configurations come in, and they are surprised when you give When you give end customers the ability to build their own products in a sense and customize, our customers find they're actually surprised what their audience prefers. And what's really amazing, I'll give you an example. We have a customer who does a custom closets, and they found people were continually building bookcases. It was surprising. It was something that had never come up. And now what they've done is they've productized that. So now they sell bookcases. And so before you can make new product decisions, what's really important is to have information about your current products. So the first thing is product analytics here. That'll help you actually strategize and figure out what to do next. Once you figure that out, then is all the moving pieces that happen today, but outside of the platform, outside of Threekit. So this is, here's a draft product. Can someone take a look at all the options and rules and try it out and give us feedback? Here's the draft visuals. Can someone take a look at the visuals? Does this model look great? How's the loading time? Is this texture high enough quality? If I zoom in, can someone give me feedback there? Put it all together. What is the experience when I change the attributes? They look great. The lighting doesn't look great for this light fabric or dark fabric or whatever it may be. There is a lot of information exchange there, a lot of feedback loops. And what this is to provide you is the tooling to track it all in one place. The source of truth, what is in progress, what is waiting on an approval, who's approved what is all the feedback, has it been addressed, what is published and when. It's all the steps that happen today, but like I said, outside of the platform, everyone's kind of figuring it out by themselves, and there's a high likelihood of user error or missing things. So now you know what to invest in. Now you have the process to build these things. The last part is to actually distribute or syndicate them and syndicate them to more places. So we find our customers go through specific stages. There is the customer who has a finite or specific idea of what they need to accomplish. This is going to be their first Threekit project. And so we go through that and we achieve it. And now that you have that investment, you can grow without even touching Threekit in a sense. You don't need more products. You don't need more visuals. What you actually can do to grow is just put those Threekit experiences in front of more people. And that's through syndication and channels. And as you'll see on the right-hand side, there's two factors to this. There are the integrations, so low to minimal effort for you. So if you want to get on Pinterest, if you want to get into marketplaces, if you need to make Threekit experiences accessible to your distributors or resellers. With controls, of course. So maybe it's not your entire catalog. Maybe it's a specific segment, specific variant, specific product rules, giving you those controls to share parts or all of your catalog across different channels. And as we saw earlier, you need the feedback loop to know how these things are performing. And this syndication is going to be a big piece for us this year as a foundation, and we are going to continually add to it. So you will have regional connectors for things like WeChat that you'll have access to. You will have different marketplaces and so on. And these will grow, of course, over time. But that's the big syndication piece. The last part of this is Threekit extensions. So this is related to the point I made about our industry and growth and rapid innovation. The platform needs a way to allow for rapid innovation that is decoupled from the product engineering team, basically my team and the engineering team, so that there are no trade-offs that Threekit has to make and we don't get in your way in a sense. So long story short, this is setting Threekit up to be a platform where anyone, Threekit, our partners, yourself, if you're so inclined, if you want to invest, you can build plugins and extensions. And we give you the storage and we give you the APIs and documentation. And what Threekit then becomes, more than it is today, is more of like an app platform. So imagine your smartphone, it comes out of the box with a bunch of apps and functionality, and through the App Store, you can extend it easily. So this is not obviously not a novel concept in any sense, but this is setting Threekit, the platform, up for rapid innovation. And the outcome of this is eventually the Threekit App Store, where you'll have access to innovations from our teams, our partners, other customers, and so on that are publicly available. All right, let's take a look at visuals, the first theme being performance. So really simple goal. We want to create the most performant product experiences. There is a significant drop-off for end users or customers if they have to wait for something to load, right? Because our frame of reference, I'll just pick on Amazon. If I go on Amazon, things load instantly. Now the experience is not nearly as great as anything Threekit can make because you can't interact with it and there's 6 or 7 images or 8 at most. So obviously experience-wise, leaps and bounds better. But at the end of the day, if there's a loading bar or you have to wait, and there's some nuance between B2B and B2C, but we recognize performance is a major blocker. And that's why it's a key theme for us. So we want to create the most performant product experiences. And we're doing this in a few different ways. One is, and I'll show you this in a second, giving you the knowledge and tooling in the platform so you can address things. As I mentioned in the analogy with authoring music, it is the highest quality, uncompressed music, which is great as a master. Not great if you need to put it on a CD and you need, dozens of them. And so what you need to know is what is contributing to the load time, and then what can you do about it? So that's the first part. So we have an experience analyzer and then the asset optimizer, and I'll talk about those two in a second. So that's tooling that you can take advantage of. The next thing is something Threekit needs to do, which is for our player. Basically, this is my, as a product manager, this is my lofty goal I've put to the team. I don't ever want to see a loading bar. And that can be addressed many ways. Part of it is subjective. So this is the first part with the tooling, so you can actually optimize the assets you want. Then there's the second part, which is behind the scenes, something you would never know or see. And this is an engineering effort where they pull off some miracles to make our loading even faster and take advantage of all the technology available to us. And then the third part is just the UX of the player. There are things we can do to hide the loading, gracefully show more engaging experiences as they come in, with the goal being that your customers or end users always see a product visual and never see a loading bar. So that's my lofty goal for this year. Then there's another component of performance and experiences. Some experiences like 3D configuration are real-time. They load in your browser, they're loading on your device, and then you're off to the races. Some experiences like virtual photographer or variations of augmented reality, you actually have to generate those ahead of time, which is great for performance on the end user side, because if you generate an image, then loading an image is instant. But you still have the problem of the cycle time for generating images or renders. So a tangible example is if you are rendering, let's say, 10,000 images, which seems like a lot, but a decent configurator can create 10,000 variants. If you're rendering 10,000 images and that takes you 2 days, and at the end of 2 days, you notice there was no lighting in the scene and every image is black, that is an expensive mistake. And I don't mean just the rendering. That is 2 days lost where you're not to market. And so we want to address this in a few different ways. One is, can we get that 2 days down to hours? I'm throwing numbers out there. I know this is recorded, but just as caution, that is not an exact metric that I'm tracking, but that is the type of difference we want to make. Where instead of days, it takes hours. The next thing is, can we give you real-time previews? So before you even generate those things, we can give you some previews. And before you click that button that says go render 10,000 things, you notice, hey, spot check, a lot of these are black. I think there's a problem here. So we want to reduce that cycle time for you when you're generating these experiences so that you can go to market faster. And you are not losing time and money with these revision cycles. So I want to show you a quick prototype demo of the performance analyzer. So this is a sample, and I want to show you two things. One is I've set up for myself a threshold for Threekit to tell me that certain things are large. So I've set a threshold, and when Threekit notices anything is beyond that threshold, it'll flag it to me. So this is step one. We have to tell you what's causing problems. And I can show you this threshold here under performance. You'll see here, I say set a maximum file size. This doesn't prevent anything from going live or any sort of preventative or blocking. This is really just a threshold you put in, and then Threekit will start to flag things to you. So 1.5 megabytes, that is our threshold. Nothing can be larger than that. Then with that in place, I can see, okay, this is larger than 1.5, and I'll show you what I can do with this. And if I jump over to my assets section where all my visual files are, I can sort and see, okay, these are all above that threshold. These all need to be addressed, every single one of them. And then I have a few things I can do. So if I jump back to my product, there's a new performance section down here, and it tells me everything contributing to that file size. So it tells me the model is so big, tells me my stage or environment has a background, which you'll see here, this gray background is so big, not that big. I can also open up every attribute and see each individual fabric size. And I can see this material versus that material. So this gives me a granular view of what's contributing to this. Because your initial load may be really quick, but then someone picks that really popular fabric and then it's taking 10 seconds to load. And so this is really important information for you to know. What are the file sizes? What's contributing and at what level? So that's step one. Step two is giving you the tooling to actually address this. And we already have one for materials, and next release, we're going to add one for models. But basically, it's as simple as going to the performance section. And if I scroll down here, I can actually say, you know what, for WebGL or 3D configurators, regardless of what I upload, generate an optimized version at these sizes. For AR, I want it even smaller. AR, the visual aspect is not as important. It's about the space and then the size, and we want it to load really quickly. And for V-Ray or virtual photographer, keep it original, keep it that master file, because you're going to go away and do something. It's not going to affect the end user experience, and I want the highest quality images. And there's more to this. You can go at an individual texture. So let's say it's for interactive 3D, and there's this fabric you really care about. You can override it and say, you know what, for that one, make it full size. That's okay if someone has to wait 5 seconds because it's such a beautiful fabric. We don't want anything less than. So we flag things to you, and then you can go at scale, your entire catalog. You can set some rules and override them individually. And you don't need any artist for this. And it's non-destructive as well. So we always keep the original. So you can play with these settings and so on. And same thing with virtual photographer. We have real-time optimizations in place. And all our documentations and prompts will point to these things. As you find anything that's flagged, it'll tell you, here's some things you can do about it. So that's a quick demo of the performance analyzer. Now let's talk about experiences. As I mentioned, this is one that I worry the least about because we have a lot of knowledge and experience with this, right? So Threekit is not the first visualization engine the team had built. And so we've already done a lot of this. Now we're just picking and choosing what we bring across to Threekit or update that brings value to our customers. And the goal here is to give you an extensive experience library. The more ways your customers can experience your products, the higher conversion. Because what you're essentially doing is trying to build confidence when people are shopping online in a self-serve model, that this is the thing that you are looking for. You do this with product information and product details, but we know, and we've hammered this point, I think, for years, product visuals drive conversion. And so you may already have an amazing experience today with a 3D configurator or virtual photographer and AR. But as I said, everything is speeding up. And when I say everything, I mean competitors are coming online with compelling experiences as well. And also customer expectations are changing. As an anecdote, I remember, so I've been with Threekit a little over 3 years. And when I started, I think I was a month in at a trade show. And I was showing off an AR demo, I think, of a grill. And it was really popular. People were smiling and laughing. And usually people don't smile and laugh at an e-commerce platform trade show. But they were smiling, laughing, calling their colleagues over. I got really excited. I spoke to sales and they said, yeah, everyone loves it as a demo, but no one's investing in it. It's seen more as a novelty. I see a question in Q&A. I'll get to it in just a second. And so they saw it as a novelty. Obviously, pandemic came around and that changed things. We're finding more and more uses for AR and validating data. All that to say, things are accelerating and moving faster and new technologies continually coming along. And we want to give you an experience library that you can take advantage of to give you even more value. Because the main investment is the product data and models. Once you have that in there, you can generate as many experiences as we have available. So I'll talk about 3 here. One of them is next generation AR. So AR today, like I said, amazing. I can see things in my space and it still blows my mind when I can put furniture in my space and I don't have to tape my floor down and try to imagine the thing in my room. But where AR is lacking today is in 2 main methods. One is it's somewhat of a dead-end experience. Once I'm in an AR mode, there isn't much more I can do. If I want to change a configuration, I have to leave. If I want to add to cart and check out, I have to leave. I have to close the whole thing down. What next generation AR does, it actually makes it interactive. And so this you can see in two ways. One is when you launch an experience in AR, you could continue to configure it. And if you want to imagine like what this experience looks like, if you've ever used like a Instagram or Snapchat where you have the filters at the bottom or options, similar experience. You launch into AR and then you have configurations at the bottom you can use your thumb for. So one is configuration. The other one is multi-item configuration. Right now, AR is limited to one object that you can move around. With this, you can place multiple objects. So think if you're placing things on a desk, a floor space, multiple rings on a finger, you could actually address them independently, move them around and configure them. And then beyond that, everything we add to our experiences like animation will just work in AR. Annotations, all the good stuff. So it's really next generation AR, not a static experience. And animations, I mentioned, animations is one of the top requests since, I've been around for 3 years, is animations. And animation is really interesting. For some products, it is the only way to show a value prop. One great example I think of is exercise equipment. We have a customer who has exercise equipment, which obviously was booming the last few years, where you attach it to the walls in your garage and you can fold it up. So it doesn't take space and you can still park your car in there. With animation, you actually show that folding. And that is the main reason they came with Threekit is photography does not do this thing justice. You need to configure it and show it opening and closing so you see how much space it takes. And I'm seeing more and more evidence how animation can augment product experiences. Whether they're current experiences, and it could be something as simple as when you pick an attribute to configure, the camera swoops down and animates to that spot, just like a thing to delight users. And it could also be used to create new experiences like product assemblies or product tours. And then the last one is creating a library of visualization methods or technologies where you don't need to make compromises or trade-offs. So by that, I mean, if you pick virtual photographer, you can get photorealistic images. And granted, we can do like turntables or product rotations. We can give it some interactivity, but it's not the same as interactive 3D or 3D configuration. You could do 3D configuration, but it's not photorealistic like photography. And there are technologies out there to actually bridge this gap. And two to call out, one is what we call spherical camera or interior design virtual photographer. A good way to think of this is like Google Street View. Google Street View is entirely photography, but the way it's done, it's with a 360 camera, and you can rotate the camera, you can move around space. So it gives you an interaction with photorealism. And soon Threekit will be able to generate those experiences. And I say interior design because the models we've seen it works really well. Is if you're in a kitchen or a room, you could look around the kitchen, it's photorealistic, you can configure and change the cabinetry, the tabletops, the appliances, or a car interior, same thing, because you're looking around space. So really exciting tech there. And by the way, you don't have to really invest in new assets. There's a new camera, a new way to do it. And everything we do, we're trying to add value on the work you've already put in and minimize the investments you have to make to take advantage of these. And the last one is pixel streaming, which is the most exciting and interesting one, where it gives you the photorealism of virtual photography and the complete engaging experience of WebGL. And so the way to think about pixel streaming as a technology, it's like Netflix. Netflix is streaming a movie to you. We can actually stream this 3D photorealistic experience to you of your product. Okay, so let me jump over to Q&A here. When a 4K texture is optimized, so this has to do with performance, how is Threekit creating those versions without increasing the overall project size? Does it have to create several texture sizes, or does it somehow down-res it in real time without taking a heavy hit? Great question, Austin. So we create those other texture sizes, and it doesn't add to the overall project size. When the player requests those textures, we look at those settings and say, oh, don't give me the original. Give me the 1K or 2K or 4K or whatever you set it at. So we create versions of it. We don't touch your original one. And it doesn't add to the overall initial load. So hopefully that answers the question there. So to wrap up, I want to kind of give you a map of how we get to this vision I've outlined. So you'll see everything I've talked about here. This is more of a sequencing to give you some sort of expectation of what you'll see now, what's coming next, and the rest of the year. And so for the commerce section, for go-to-market and speed, that foundational UX redesign that I showed a sliver of today. Then you have the catalog organization and analytics for your existing products. Then we have the data importers, which is really important for scale maintenance. So it's not just about your initial product data importing. This is about ongoing exercises where you have to make bulk updates, catalog updates, seasonal updates. And then the approval workflows and publishing to manage all these different variations of products and visuals as they move along the stages. And then by the end of the year, we will have the universal asset framework. So you can invest in assets once, and maybe you've already done this, so there's no additional work, but you can generate a variety of experiences without additional work on your end. And the syndication piece to help you get the investments you've made in front of more of your customers' eyes, wherever they may be. For the visual side, you'll see the story I told earlier. We have the analyzer tool to tell you what's contributing to performance load times, the asset optimization from a texture or material standpoint to the actual meshes, and then the no-load player for the external experience. And for experiences, some highlights there, advanced AR that I've mentioned, really excited about that. Animations, which is going to transform existing experiences and create new ones. Pixel streaming for no compromise visuals. And then lightning renders by the end of the year when you have to generate content at scale, hundreds, thousands, millions, we have billions even. How do you do that quickly and effectively? So thank you, everyone. I know it was brief. I look forward to doing more of these. And I guess floor is open now for Q&A.
Yeah, so everybody be sure to put your questions in the Q&A. We're happy to answer them. I saw one question, Ash, came through the chat. Does the performance tab only work on catalog items, or does it work for assets as well?
Oh, great question. So this is a prototype environment. Performance is tough for assets because they're their own thing. But let me speak to the team, because this gives you the performance of the model, because the asset side is broken down, right? So this material tells me how big the material is. I can filter and just say, well, show me just textures, underlying textures and their file sizes, and you can organize it this way. But great question. Let me bring it back to the team.
And while we're waiting for a few more questions, we have a couple that were on the registration that I could throw out there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Any plans for direct integration with ERPs?
Yes. So that is related to, if I go back here, oh, maybe I had it here. Data importers. Now, I can't speak to ERP specifically or a specific one, but this is the work required to enable that. So it's really a kind of a linear story. The Threekit data model or catalog has to be representative in a way that we can build data importers, not just for CSV and Excel, but also other technologies used in your workflows. As I mentioned, whether they're ERPs, PIMs, e-commerce platforms, there's an underlying familiar data structure that we want to implement so that we can build these importers really quickly and easily, I should say. So yes, but not a specific one for this year.
Great. One just came in from Steven, if you'd like to.
Yeah, have there been discussions or ideas how to standardize integrations with CRMs, perhaps part of the extension marketplace? It almost feels like that question was fed to me beforehand. That's exactly one of the major points of the extension marketplace. We've just realized that where we can provide value as a product engineering team is not building individual integrations, but by setting up the platform in a way to make it easy and fast to build those. And not just easy and fast to build those. And when I say, I mean our own consulting team, partners, whoever it may be, but also in a way where they can be reshared so that they're standardized. So no two customers are making the same investments, or no two consulting teams, customers wouldn't be making the investment, sorry. Should be consulting teams, partners. And so exactly as you said, a marketplace. And so products kind of scope in that is getting the platform in data model in a place where it's ready for those, and the APIs so we can build quickly.
There's another question in the chat.
I see that. What about data exporting? We currently use APIs to dynamically assemble models in real time. We're interested in feeding those dynamic built models into virtual photography tools. Is that possible? Well, that is a very specific question, which I think is possible today, but the fact that you're asking me makes me a bit hesitant to commit that you can do it today. So if I understand, you build up models in real time, this makes sense. And you want to feed those into different visualization, being virtual photography. James, can you clarify, do you mean virtual photography tools as in Threekit tools, or do you mean take that build up and feed it to a tool outside of Threekit? And while you may be typing, I'm going to jump back to the Q&A. There's another question. Will the no-load player update allow for larger polygon count texture images to a significant degree since loading will be in the background? Yes, this is one of the main points, Austin. With the no-load player, you can afford to have higher quality assets because the longer loading time will go unseen by the end user. Now, obviously, there'll be some fine print. So one scenario is you see an instant snapshot as an end user, and in the background, we load the player. If it's not loaded by that point, the customer can click a button that says, load my interactive experience, and then it will jump over, and maybe then they would see a loading. But we want to minimize that as much as we can. So you will still have some of the responsibility to figure out the balance point. But that is exactly the point where it'll be hidden the loading, so you can actually compromise less on visuals. So back to James. Yes, we build them up in the browser, use Threekit Virtual Photographer, then put them into an environment and render them. I think I understand the setup. You build them and use Threekit Virtual Photographer. James, we may have to speak about this offline because I don't know if we're speaking about the same thing when you say then put them into an environment. Okay, you build them in the browser and with like Threekit Virtual Photographer. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think you can do that today. So I encourage you to follow up with our CS team. I'll gladly jump on that call with our engineering team as well. There might be some fine print there, but I think through conversation we can discover together, but I'm fairly certain you can do that today.
Yeah, and we'll provide the email address to reach out to us on the next slide here at the end of the call. But we have just a few more minutes to answer any more questions if people would like to send those in.
Thank you, Stephen. We are really excited to see them too.
All right, well, I'm not seeing anything else coming in, so why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? So if anybody does have additional questions that pop up after the fact, definitely reach out to our customer success team. Myself and Stefan can help you out. success@threekit.com. It's going to be at the top there. And this can be for anything as well, right? So if you just need to contact the customer success team at Threekit whenever, you can always email that email address, even if it's not related to this particular webinar. Also, be sure to bookmark community.threekit.com. This will be in the follow-up email shortly after that will be sent out to you tomorrow, with that link. But that'll be where you find all Threekit documentation, release notes, best practice articles, forums, support portal, and everything else that you need. Your one-stop shop for pretty much everything. So definitely bookmark that. And if you can, please fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. It'll also be in that follow-up email. We really appreciate the feedback to better understand what we can do to make this a more engaging webinar, but also what content you want to see in the future, because that's really what we're trying to do, provide more content, written content, videos, and more webinars like this so that we can engage with all of our customers a lot more. So please give us any feedback you can. We will we'll try to act on it as best as we can to give you the best experience. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks again for joining. And we hope to hear from you soon, and keep an eye out for any future webinars that we're planning. Thanks again. Have a great day.